Good morning. It is early. It is currently 6:15. My alarm went off at 5:55. Angel number, of course. Welcome back to Mind Body Mel. Today I am going to take you through my morning doing my personal curriculum. I am not a morning person, but I am sitting down with my coffee. I've got yogurt for breakfast and I'm about to do my morning pages and work through my personal curriculum. So I thought I'd take you along with me. And while I go through it, maybe a little bit later after I've woken up a bit, we can talk about how my personal curriculum for January has been going, how I keep track of everything, and kind of what it looks like. But I like to do my morning pages first thing after I get my coffee, so I'm going to get started on that. Okay, morning pages are done. I'm feeling a little bit more awake. I pretty much finished my coffee, so that's great. I don't think I showed on the channel yet, but I got a fountain pen for Christmas and I am loving it. This is a Twisby Eco in glow purple, I believe, and it's a medium nib, which at first I thought was a little bit too big when I first tried to write with it, but now I actually really like it and it just feels nice in your hand. I only have one ink right now. I just asked for a black ink. So if you are really into fountain pens and you have an ink or even an ink brand that you recommend, please let me know because I'm still a baby and figuring it out. But I did my morning pages and I picked this notebook up from Barnes & Noble. It's the Good Impressions brand and it is Tomoe River paper, which is just such a dream to write on with a fountain pen. And if you're like, wow, she writes so straight. No, I don't. It comes with this pencil board so you can put it behind the page and you can see the lines through it. So that's how I'm able to write in a straight line because otherwise this is just a plain notebook and it would be a mess. Morning pages we're good today. It did take me a little bit longer because I was conscious of the camera, but that's okay. I do not know how I was functioning before this. I do know I was a lot more anxious and there was always things running through my mind. I literally get everything out onto the page before I start. I feel so much more clear. I feel more present. I feel more positive and uplifted. Even if I'm like ranting and complaining, which I was doing a little bit of that today, it's like, okay, great, we can get that out of our system and move on. And I find that the rest of the day I complain less. I know I used to get really down on myself when I'd be like, stop complaining. And I've kind of come to this acceptance of like, that's kind of part of life. And that's, you know, as being a human, you're going to complain, you're going to vent, you're going to rant sometimes. And if I could do it in a healthy way on the page, it's almost like I can move on from it and it doesn't affect me for the rest of the day. And I'm not, you know, complaining to other people either. And that's an insight that I learned through doing morning pages. I just feel like you learn so much about yourself by what you're writing for 3 pages every single morning. Can't recommend it enough. And yeah, it usually takes me about 25 minutes to 30 minutes. Today it took longer because I'm setting up the camera, not to break the fourth wall or anything. I'm trying to figure out the camera angles as I do this, so it is taking me longer today than it normally would. Next step in my morning routine is I like to read nonfiction. I like reading nonfiction in the morning versus before bed, because if I read it before bed, sometimes it can be a little too mentally stimulating and then I can't fall asleep. And in the morning, I find it to be really inspiring. And I am loving my nonfiction book right now, which is The Psychology of Money. This is part of my business unit, Notes on Locking In, that I'm doing. And I just feel like the beginning of the year, it's a nice time to work on money mindset. I have a new budget for the year, thinking about my spending habits for a new year, what I want to optimize, how I want to save and such. And I'm really enjoying this, especially because the last nonfiction book I read, This Is Marketing, I really didn't like. But I'm enjoying this book because there's, this central theme of money mindset, psychology of money, but each chapter is its own story, and then you kind of move on to the next story. So it feels like a very complete thing to read. The chapters are short, so I'm just reading one a day in the morning, and it's been great so far. I will jot down any notes or quotes in my curriculum notebook. So this is my business course curriculum. Yep. I have notebooks for my main courses. So I have one for herbalism. I have one for my online business learning, which, there is a little overlap with business. I was really debating what to put these labels, but it makes sense in my head, and that's all that matters. And then I have a notebook for personal growth. Last fall, I read a book on meditation, one on self-sabotage. So those things kind of go in the personal growth notebook. I am going to get started reading The Psychology of Money. I'm on chapter 7, Freedom. It says, controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. Ain't that the truth? Okay, I ended up reading 2 chapters because they were kind of short, but I am just loving this book. The stories and the anecdotes, there's a lot of stories from history and, successful people with money and people who have lost all their money as well. And they are really effective at highlighting the different points that he's trying to make. A couple of the notes I made today were that the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want to do today. And one of the points he was trying to make in the book is that people think they want these things and a fancy car, having a ton of money in the bank, but it's really what that money buys you, which is freedom. And he went on to say that compared to previous generations, control over our time has actually decreased with the increase in knowledge work. So it used to be that most of the workforce was laborers and it was a punch in, punch out type of thing. And now with the rise of knowledge work, it's really hard to turn your brain off at the end of the day. So we're taking our work home with us a lot. You're still thinking about the patient, you're still thinking about, whatever marketing campaign you're working on. It's kind of bled into home life where it makes the separation really difficult. And the next chapter was on the perception of wealth, and it was saying how a lot of people try to signal status with the things that they buy. He was talking about his experience as a valet, and he was, driving all these fancy cars, and he realized that, people would look at the car with such admiration and desire and envy, but they're not actually looking at the person driving the car. They're really just looking at the car and using it as a benchmark for themselves in what they don't have. So a lot of people will think, oh, I buy this car and people will respect me. People will think, I'm this wealthy, great person, but really all they're doing is thinking about themselves and their own wealth and comparing themselves to that and what they don't have. I just thought that was a really interesting mindset shift. Anyway, I am going to move on to more writing. I like to break up my writing with the reading. The morning pages are 3 pages, and then I move on to doing my daily writing for my fiction project that I'm working on. I'm doing the Write for Life program, which is a 6-week program by Julia Cameron. Truthfully, I don't know about it, but I think it was a nice training wheels for me to get started on this writing project. But basically, it's just doing the morning pages, going on your artist date every week, and then doing a daily quota of writing. And she suggests for a novel doing 2 pages. And I am writing it by hand for these 6 weeks. I think after these 6 weeks, I'll probably get into typing my daily quota, whatever I decide it to be. But right now I'm doing a lot of brainstorming and world building. It's a fantasy novel, so there's a lot of things in the world that I have to figure out. And I'm just trying to get in the habit of writing every day. And so far, and I'm afraid I'm going to jinx it by saying this, but it's been going really well. I thought it was going to be hard, and it's almost just kind of pouring right out of me. I do think doing it in the morning is nice because my brain hasn't fully turned on yet, and it's just kind of subconscious almost. There's less of a barrier. There's less of those blurts and the overthinking that this is terrible and that I shouldn't even be writing this that sometimes I can experience later in the day. There is still some of that, but it's a little bit less. So this is my notebook for my project, and it's a bigger page than the morning pages, 2 pages, so front and then back of a page. And I'm loving seeing how the pages are compounding, and I've got a nice little collection now of my words. This can take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. It just kind of depends on the day. And I like to give myself 30 minutes just in case, especially if I have a really early morning where I have to get out of the house. I guess I didn't talk about this, but I design my morning routine for the absolute earliest that I have to get going. So I work for myself, but I also have a part-time job. Some days I work from home and I have a little bit more flexibility because it's that time freedom where I'm deciding. And then some days I have to be out the door at 9 a.m. to drive to work. So I designed my morning routine with that by 9 a.m. I'm absolutely done. Really, it's by 8:30 I'm getting ready for the day. Weekends, sometimes it'll get pushed back an hour. I try not to sleep in more than an hour because when you're doing that, you're essentially jet lagging yourself and it just makes it harder during the week to wake up. But I do like to sleep in for an extra hour. All right, I'm really yapping now and procrastinating, so I'm gonna get these pages done. Okay, that went great today. It just kind of flowed right out of me again, which was nice. Julia Cameron writes about this in Write for Life, that you should pick a very low amount that you can consistently write every day, even if you feel like you want to write more, because she says a lot of writers will, kind of binge write and then they burn out and they'll have weeks without writing. But if you keep the bar really low, you're able to consistently do it every day. It builds confidence. It builds that motivation that you want to keep doing it. And I definitely think that's the case for me. I mean, obviously every person's different, but last year I was trying to just, write on the weekends when I can, and it just wasn't happening because it wasn't really part of my routine. And now it just feels like, yep, this is what I do every morning. I write 2 pages, and I'm loving seeing how the story just keeps evolving. And I'll write myself questions in the pages and I find myself answering them. And it's kind of like morning pages, but morning pages for my writing project. And after the 6 weeks, I know it'll evolve. I'm hoping at the end of the 6 weeks, I'll feel like I can write a really good outline for the story, and then I can actually start writing the first draft, which is really exciting. So now this is my last part at my desk before I do my morning movement, but I have found that alternating two of my classes in this 15-minute section works really well. So I'm alternating working on the online course that I'm doing and then my herbal study, and I just kind of go back and forth. And then if I have more time over the weekend, I'll kind of finish up whatever I wanted to for the week. But both of those require my computer, so I try and do everything I can to be off of any electronics, and then I'll do the last part on my computer. And usually I need to finish my breakfast, which today I do. Sometimes I'm just not hungry in the morning, so I just kind of eat a little bit as I go, and then I'm going to watch some videos and I'll finish off my breakfast. I'm going to do my herbal study today. Yay. I found this really great YouTube channel. I think it's called Evolution Herbalism. I'll put the name on the screen. And he has really great lectures. I find him really engaging to listen to. I do have a couple of herbal books, but I'm actually going to go to the library later today and see if I can find some more just to round out the sources that I'm using. This is the first month I'm doing this course, so there's some kinks that I'm still trying to work out. But basically, I had picked 3 herbs that I wanted to study this month that are in the herb class of nervine, so herbs that act on your nervous system, and those herbs are motherwort, tilia, and skullcap. So I'm basically just trying to find everything I can about these herbs and rounding out my own notes so I can make really good monographs that have a lot of depth to them and feel like I really understand these herbs and who they could benefit.
Hey, what's up everyone? Seja here.
Hey, I'm Whitney, and
all right, so let's talk about some of the core properties of motherwort. So first off, its common name is motherwort. Latin name is Leonurus cardiaca. This is a straight bitter plant. It is a really bitter plant. And the bitter taste indicates a lot of things about a plant, as a lot of people these days have come to understand, is that it is really indicative of an action on the digestive system. The bitter receptors on the tongue.
Okay, I just finished watching this video. I chose a video on motherwort. Basically, at the beginning of the month, I went through YouTube and just made a playlist of a bunch of herb videos in the 15 to 20 minute range. So I just kind of put one on when I'm working on my herb study. And I really like this YouTube creator because they include a lot more of the energetics and a lot of traditional Chinese medicine, a little bit of astrology even too. And it's a nice balance with the herbal books that I have that are a little bit more scientific, talking about constituents, herbal actions. I like kind of balancing it out with people talking about their personal experiences with the herb and how they use it with their clients. And I think that's more what I was looking for. Like, I can, from my education that I got in naturopathic medical school, just rattle off herbal actions for specific herbs. That was a big part of our licensure exams, was like you had to know all the actions for 150 herbs. That's great. However, I just feel like I'm lacking that true depth of the herb, or I have it for some but not others, and I just really want to round out my knowledge of it. Motherwort is a really great herb. The Latin name is Leonurus cardiaca, which the Latin translates to lion-hearted one. This is a great herb for anxiety that really impacts the heart. So if you get racing heart rate, you get sweaty and hot and kind of the sweaty palms, palpitations, this is an herb that can be really helpful for that. A lot of herbs that help with anxiety or different type of nervous system conditions, but each of them have their own affinities and things that make them special. And when you can get really good at pairing someone with the specific herb that they need, that's when I've always seen the most benefit from using herbs. So fun. I love learning about herbs. It's my favorite. But now I'm feeling antsy at this time of the day. I know that in order to stay on track with my morning routine, I have to start my workout at 7:45. I'm currently doing Evlo fitness for the month of January. It was free for the entire month, which is amazing, and I am obsessed with it. It's the perfect workout to do in the morning. I usually have hated working out in the morning. I do have a chronic illness, an autoimmune disease called psoriatic arthritis, so sometimes I wake up feeling a little stiff. It is nowhere near as bad as it used to be in the past. I don't have any pain anymore, but I just don't usually feel great in my body and ready for a workout right when I wake up. So I found doing this routine, it's already been an hour, almost 2 hours. I woke up at 5:55 and now I'm starting it at 7:45. I feel a lot better in my body and it doesn't feel as achy. But the Evlo workouts are usually pretty low to the mat. they feel like you're taking a yoga and a Pilates class. This is like their marketing spiel, but it's a lifting class, and you end it feeling strong. I definitely feel sore the next day, but I don't feel exhausted by any means. Like I feel like I still have energy for the rest of my day, which sometimes when I work out, I tend to overdo it. So this has been a really nice mindset shift for me to do. And I always do it in my pajamas, which is nice. It makes it a lot easier to get it done. I'm also really enjoying avoiding the gym in January because I've passed by it and the parking lot is packed, and I just do not want to deal with that right now. So I am enjoying incorporating this into my morning routine. Let's stop talking and get it done. Definitely got a little sweaty there, and Lola enjoyed interrupting my Shavasana, but that's actually one of my favorite parts of Evlo is that there's Shavasana after every class. The class starts with breath work and mobility, and then you end with a little bit of mobility, a little bit of breath work again, and then relaxation and Shavasana. So it's really nervous system friendly, where we know exercise is a stress on the nervous system. It's a good stress, but by pairing it with the nervous system regulation techniques of breath work and gentle mobility connecting with your body, we're teaching it that it is that good stress, and it helps bring our body back into the parasympathetic state. So I'm going to shower off, get ready for the day, and then I'll say goodbye to you before I get started with my day. I'm all ready for the day. I feel so good right now. I honestly love this routine so much, and that's why it makes it easy to wake up that early in the morning. Like I said, I am not a morning person. This has taken me time to build up to, but I feel like I cleared my mind. I learned new things with my herb study and in the money mindset book I'm reading. I worked on my writing project, so I feel like I've been taking steps towards my goals, which always feels really good. And then I moved my body. I got my workout done all before 9 a.m. Amazing. I want to emphasize that I have worked up to this routine. When I first started, with my morning ritual back in September, I was just doing morning pages. Like, it was a win if I just got my morning pages done before work. And then I added on reading from a nonfiction book. And then as I've been developing my personal curriculum, I realized, when I do things first thing in the morning, they actually get done. And when I say I'm going to do it later in the day, sometimes it does, but often it doesn't. I'm just tired from the day and I don't feel like doing it, even though it's something that's important to me. So I kind of reverse engineered my morning routine. And like I said, I picked the day where I would have the least amount of time. And that's what I'm basing my morning routine off of. So I worked my way back and figured out what time I had to wake up to make everything happen, 15 to 20 minutes for each activity. And that happened to be 5:55 a.m. And now that I'm used to it, I really look forward to it. But you might decide to do things differently. You might say, Mondays you're going to work on one of your courses, Tuesdays another course. I like a lot of newness, so I like hopping between all of my different courses in the span of one morning. But you might feel differently. You might want to just work on one course and then the next. Morning routines are all about what works for you, figuring out what's going to set you up for the best day. So I would love to hear in excruciating detail what your morning ritual looks like right now, or what you're hoping to do in your mornings to kind of build up to it. I haven't done a video like this before, so if you enjoyed this, please let me know if you would like to see this again, kind of this vlog, chatty style. I hope you have an amazing day. Until next time, I'm rooting for you every step of the way.